This is the key text that I prepared. James 4:4. It says, ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. So this text is related to the subject that we're going to study this moment. And I hope that God will be with us as we continue, so that we could understand every detail of the message that He wants us to receive at this moment. So, list of points to get through, although not necessarily in order. One is, Ellen White frequently equates Babylon with the embrace of worldliness, pride, and the pursuit of earthly power. The second one is why the tendency toward Babylon persists. Third, the message to Babylon is also a personal appeal to every believer. It warns against the quiet drift toward worldliness and the danger of allowing the spirit of the age to cloud the clarity of a thus saith the Lord. So these are the points that we're going to get through. So some reasons why a pure church turns into Babylon. So I list down three things here, although this is not these 3 points are not the complete one, no? This is just the few things that the reason why a pure church turns into Babylon. First, drinking the wine of Babylon. Okay. Selected Messages, Book 2, page 68, it says, the wine of Babylon is the exalting of the false and spurious Sabbath above the Sabbath, which the Lord Jehovah hath blessed and sanctified for the use of man. Also, it is the immortality of the soul. These kindred heresies and the rejection of the truth convert the church into Babylon. Kings, merchants, rulers, and religious teachers are all in corrupt harmony. While in Testimonies to the Ministers, it says this and kindred errors. It means that the enumerated ones, like the wine, immortality of the soul, or natural immortality of the soul, eternal torment, the denial of the preexistence of Christ, and advocating and exalting the first day of the week above God's holy and sanctified day. So there are more errors. It says this, no, and kindred errors. There are more errors that would make a pure church turn into Babylon. So not just the one that the few that are being enumerated here. So in this passage, she explicitly identifies the wine that makes Babylon drunk as the spirit of the world and its principles. Okay. So second, unlawful alliances with the kings of the earth. So our quotation will be found in the Great Controversy 383. Babylon is also charged with the sin of unlawful connection with the kings of the earth. It was by departure from the Lord and alliance with the heathen that the Jewish church became a harlot, and Rome, corrupting herself in like manner by seeking the support of worldly powers, receives a like condemnation. Many of the Protestant churches are following the example of Rome of unlawful alliance with the kings of the earth. The state churches, by their relation to secular governments and other denominations, by seeking the favor of the world. And the term Babylon confusion may be appropriately applied to these bodies. Okay, there are three entities mentioned here. The first one is the Jewish church, next is Rome, and the Protestant churches. Although the Jewish church they are a Sabbath keeper, it just means that being a Sabbath keeper is not immune to become a Babylon. No, there are more reasons. There are plenty of reasons. No, that a pure church will turn into Babylon. Especially what was mentioned here is about their connection with the kings of the earth. So because of that, the Jewish church became Babylon. The same with Rome. Rome became Babylon also by corrupting herself in like manner, it says here, by seeking the support of worldly powers, and also the Protestant churches. See, so Babylon, the church, Babylon church is not limited to the Roman Catholic Church. And note that the term Babylon or harlot is used interchangeably in this quotation, meaning Babylon and harlot is the same. At the same time, being world or worldly is also Babylon and harlot. So in the Great Controversy, no, she describes how the fall of the churches is a direct result of seeking the world's favor over God's truth. Okay, so that is clear. Number 3, the spirit of the world in the church. Okay, our quotation will be found in same book, The Great Controversy, page 388, column 1. The statement here was quoted from the sermon made by Robert Atkins, and it says that the spirit of the worldly conformity is invading the churches throughout Christendom. This statement will be found in, as I said, Great Controversy 388. No. It says Robert Atkins, in a sermon preached in London, draws a dark picture of the spiritual declension that prevails in England. This was the thing that are being seen in the Protestant churches before 1844. So meaning to say, they became Babylon church, or meaning to say they are a worldly church. So it says here that truly, Robert Atkins said, that truly righteous are diminished from the earth, and no man layeth it to heart. The professors of religion of the present day in every church are lovers of the world. Okay, so this was the problem happened during the time of the person mentioned. Okay, conformers to the world, lovers of creature comfort, and aspirers after respectability. They are called to suffer with Christ, but they shrink from even reproach. Apostasy is engraven on the very front of every church. And did they know it? And did they feel it? There might be hope, but alas, they cry, we are rich and increase in goods and stand in need of nothing. The same with the message to the Laodicean church. Becoming a worldly church or conformers to the world is the same with a Laodicean church. They are rich and increase in goods and stand in need of nothing. So they are synonymous, these two spirit that's mentioned in the book of Revelation. So being worldly will turn a pure church into Babylon, and this is what happened to the Protestant churches in 1844. During the time, or 1842, 1844, during that times, that years, God sent the first angel's message to call out his church, referring to the Protestant churches, to come out from being Babylon. But according to the record, they rejected the message, and that's the reason why God gave the second angel's message about Babylon fallen. So they were fallen in 1844, according to the record, because they have rejected the message, which is the first angel's message, the only message that could help them to be healed from being worldly or being Babylon. So that's the reason why they become Babylon fallen, because of rejecting the first angel's message. Okay, so Ellen G. White often warned that when the church adopts worldly methods and fashions, it takes on the characteristics of Babylon, and that is very clear according to the quotation that we read. No, so adopting the worldly principles, the spirit of the world in the church, will turn a church, a pure church, into Babylon. Okay. How about the Seventh-day Adventist? In volume 8, Testimonies to the Church, page 118, column 4.4. In her statement in 1900, she said, "It is a solemn and terrible truth excuse, that many who have been zealous in proclaiming the third angel's message are now becoming listless and indifferent. The line of demarcation between worldlings and many professed Christians is almost indistinguishable. Many who once were earnest Adventists are conforming to the world, to its practices, its customs, its selfishness. Instead of leading the world to render obedience to God's law, the church is uniting more and more closely with the world in transgression. Daily, the church is becoming converted to the world." So the problem with the Protestant churches that made them Babylon also happened in the Seventh-day Adventists during the watch of Ellen G. White. So this is our message, no? This is the message that we have to be put in our minds, that worldliness will turn us into Babylon. Okay, the same as true with the Seventh-day Adventist here, as we read, that the line of demarcation between worldlings and professed Christians are almost indistinguishable, cannot be distinguished, because instead of leading the world to render obedience to the law, to God's law, the Seventh-day Adventist this time, the church being mentioned here, is uniting more and more closely with the world in transgression. So the purpose of calling them to become church and being entrusted for the message to be given to the world was it did not happen. No, it didn't happen. So they became converted to the world, meaning to say they became Babylon. Okay, so take note, the same volume, the book Testimonies for the Church, volume 8, in page 249, column 3. This was written in, or This was written in 1903. It says, the heavenly teacher inquired, what stronger delusion can beguile the mind than the pretense that you are building on the right foundation and that God accepts your works, when in reality you are working out many things according to worldly policy and are sinning against Jehovah. Okay? Meaning to say, by building on the wrong foundation, which is worldly policy, they are sinning against Jehovah. Sin is the transgression of the law, according to 1 John 3:4. So they transgress the law of God when they adopted things according to worldly policy. Okay? So, and the result is, as we continue to read the book, in page 250, Jesus says, actually, it was Jesus and Sister White they are having conversation here, and it was recorded in this book. And it says, who can truthfully say, our gold is tried in the fire, our garments are unspotted by the world. I saw our instructor pointing to the garments of so-called righteousness. Instructor here is capital letter, meaning to say this is Jesus Christ talking with Ellen G. White. What did he do? He's stripping them off, and then he laid bare the defilement beneath. Then he said to me, capital letter, he. Can you not see, Jesus said, how they have pretentiously covered up their defilement and rottenness of character? And then how is the faithful city become an harlot? Or how is the faithful city become Babylon, become worldly? Okay, because harlot, Babylon, and worldliness is synonymous. So my Father's house is made a house of merchandise, a place whence the divine presence and glory have departed. For this cause, this is weakness, there is weakness, and strength is lacking. Becoming Babylon will be a reason that God's presence will not be there. So it is very important for us to take note, to see ourselves if we are getting worldly, because it will block the presence of Jesus Christ in our midst. So this is a warning for us. This quotation is not to be often thrown to the Seventh-day Adventists, the members of the Seventh-day Adventists, or the Church of the Seventh-day Adventists. We have to see the message in this quotation so that it will serve as a warning, and we will avoid being worldly or harlot or being Babylon. Okay, so the message to Babylon is designed to heal. According to J.N. Andrews in Advent Review and Sabbath Herald, recorded in June or published in June 24, 1852, page 28, column 20. He said, we would have healed Babylon, says the prophet, but she would not be healed. So he quoted Jeremiah 51, verse 9. In this text, it says that Babylon could be healed, but she rejected it. So this is the point that J.N. Andrews emphasized in his quotation. Read the whole chapter. He said, the medicine designed for her cure was the first angel's message of Revelation 14, referring to the Protestant churches. So the medicine designed for the Protestant churches for her to be cured was the first angel's message of Revelation 14. So meaning to say the fulfillment of Revelation 14 is in 1844. Okay? 1842 to 1844. But as she refused this, the only thing that could heal her of her confusion of sectarianism and the love of the world, she has fallen. So the Protestant churches this time, when they rejected the first angel's message designed to for her cure, was rejected, and that's the reason why they became Babylon fallen. So first they become Babylon, or they became worldly or harlot. That's the reason why God sent them the first angel's message to heal them. But since they rejected it, God follow up the second angel's message, which is Babylon fallen, to denounce them as being fallen morally, since they rejected the first angel's message designed for their cure. So it should heal them, the Protestant churches. But since they rejected it, the first angel's message, sad to say, they became fallen. Okay? So Jane Andrews continued, as proof that the Advent message was just calculated to heal Babylon, he said, see its effects upon those who receive it. Ministers and people from all the different denominations who embraced the Advent faith laid aside their different tenets and united perfectly on the great important truth of the Advent. And thus they formed the Philadelphia Church, the church of brotherly love. So those people who accepted the first angel's message turned into Philadelphia Church, which is the church of brotherly love. Okay? They were cured because they accepted the first angel's message, embraced the message of God, while most, or generally, of the members of the Protestant church that time turned into Babylon fallen. Okay? And one more, according to Uriah Smith, it is not intended to you nor used as a term of reproach. When somebody tell you that you are being Babylon, do not be irritated, do not be offended, because it is a message of truth for you, and for you to renew if ever it is true. Okay? Because according to Uriah Smith, he said, the term Babylon is not intended nor used as a term of reproach, okay, but rather as a descriptive word setting forth the very undesirable condition of mixture and confusion in the religious world. It is certainly not the Lord's will who prayed that all his people should be one, that scores of hundreds of divisions and sects should exist within his church. Because this is what happened to the Protestant churches. There are hundreds of divisions and sects of his church. And that's the reason why they turned into Babylon. And the same is true with the home churches. Let us not be offended with these words, because we are, it is the fact that there are numbers of home churches existed in this time. The same with the Protestant churches, hundreds of divisions and sects exist because they have their own tenets. The same with the home churches, they have their own tenets. They don't want to be united with the other groups because they felt that their feeling is that they are already pure, or whatever reasons they have. That is why they don't want to be united with the other groups. Okay, that is division. They created division, and that spirit is a Babylonian spirit. The same problem exists with the Protestant churches. Okay? So this is the reason why we struggle, we do our best by God's grace to be fully united. And there is system that being mentioned in the words of Jesus Christ, the spirit of prophecy in Loma Linda Messages 464, if I am not mistaken. It says that simple organization and church order are set forth in the New Testament scriptures, and God has ordained this for the perfection and unity of the church. That is why if we are being asked to about this unity, what perfects unity, our answer is Loma Linda Messages 464. Perfect organization and church order. Meaning to say we have to organize ourselves according to what God has instructed to us. Organized ourselves. We should have system and order because this is God's will. According to the testimonies to the ministers, page 25, we will not be successful if we are not fully organized. We have to organize ourselves because being disorganized is Babylon. We will be reading that quotation later on as we continue, brethren. Okay? So, divisions of sects and groups is Babylonian spirit, brethren. That is worldly. That's the sickness. That's the problem existed in the Protestant churches and existing in our time until now. There are hundreds of division in Protestant world. Okay, so it shows that the warning isn't an attack, but a diagnostic tool, brethren. The goal is clarity and unity, reminding us that mixture with worldly theories is what creates the confusion God wants to save us from. Okay, so this quotation will tell us that being worldly, brethren, we are preparing for something very, very dreadful. Okay, we may say that I will never ever receive that mark of the beast when it becomes enforced. No, but let us be reminded with this quotation, brethren. 5T 2:16. It says, "What are you doing, brethren, in the great work of preparation?" Those who are uniting with the world are receiving the worldly mold and preparing for the mark of the beast. Okay? So, and in reverse, says, those who are distrustful of self or humbling themselves before God and purifying their souls by obeying the truth, these are receiving the heavenly mold and preparing for the seal of God in their foreheads. When the decree goes forth and the stamp is impressed, their character will remain pure and spotless for eternity. So this should be a warning to every one of us here in this room or in this Zoom meeting, brethren, that we are in the preparation time. We are preparing for the great time of trouble. We are preparing for the coming of Christ. Again, although we keeps on saying that we will not receive that mark of the beast, which is Sunday observance, if it is being enforced, but if today we are becoming worldly, worldliness is seen among us, it is just it means to say that we are preparing ourselves for the mark of the beast. When that law will be enforced, we will be prepared. We will be prepared. We cannot reject that mark of the beast when that will be enforced. Time will come, brethren, if we are worldly at this time. So the warning given to the Seventh-day Adventist Church given to the Protestant churches is the same warning for us, brethren. If they fail to accept the message, we should not reject it, but we have to accept it. We have to put in our mind, the warning that God has given to us, that we should avoid being worldly. So, the question is, how's our selves? Are we becoming worldly? What is our ambition, our purpose, our motive at this time? How's our schools? How are we in the schools, in our work, or wherever we are? How are we? Let us look at ourselves. Are we becoming worldly? We as parents, are we taking are we checking, or are we watching our young ones, brethren, our children? How are they? Because that souls, that gentle souls, are being entrusted to us, and God will ask us in the last days if we are being faithful in teaching them the right way, if we are teaching them to obey God's commandments. How are they? God will ask us, brethren, as parents, because we are being entrusted with these young ones. So let us not look for ourselves only, but let us look for our young ones also. And the same with, let us look for our brethren. We are not looking for the defects, but we should look for them, for us to be faithful. We should exhort one another, as God says in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25, exhort one another, because the time is nearing that Jesus Christ will come. So let us help each other to avoid being worldly, so that we will not become Babylon, meaning to say we will not be preparing for the mark of the beast. But instead, we should be distrustful of ourselves, humble ourselves before God, purify our souls by obeying His commandments, so that we will be receiving the heavenly mold and preparing for the seal of God in our forehead, instead of being prepared for the coming mark of the beast. So I hope this message will be will give us a reminder, brethren, and be in the truth always, doing God's principles, doing what God wants us to be. And there I have prepared 3 texts here. Other reasons of becoming Babylon, because this will tell us that being Babylon is like a hairline difference with faithful and being worldly. So there are reasons of becoming Babylon, brethren. Again, although this is not a complete list, I just list down 3 points here, brethren, the most common ones. First is 1T 270, or Testimonies for the Church, Volume 1, page 270. August 3, 1861, it says, I was shown that some have feared that our churches would become Babylon if they should organize. But those in central New York have been perfect Babylon confusion. Why? Because they were not organized. Okay, let's continue. And now, unless the churches are so organized that they can carry out and enforce order, they have nothing to hope for in the future. They must scatter into fragments. So God wants us to be organized so that we will not become Babylon, or perfect Babylon. So organization is necessary, brethren, for it will bring us to success. We will not be successful if we are not organized. So that is the reason why we keep on trying our best by God's grace that we should be organized, having order and system in our midst. Because if we are not organized, it says here, we will be scattered into fragments. So people who loves to be alone in a one place, according to Ellen G. White, one here, one there, is not in God's order. Really. That is individual independence, and that is Babylonian spirit. Okay. God wants us to be one in an organized body, which is which will help us to become perfectly united, according to Luma Linda Messages, page 464. Okay. So next one, the second one is 21 MR 380. Okay. We must, as a people, arose and cleanse the camp of Israel, licentiousness, unlawful intimacy, unholy practices are coming in among us in a large degree, and ministers who are handling sacred things are guilty of sin in this respect, meaning to say, thou shalt not commit adultery. Okay? During the time of Ellen G. White, this is very rampant, especially in the circle of the ministers. There are plenty of ministers, members who are transgressing this specific law, commandment, the seventh commandment, because thou shalt not commit adultery. So this kind of sin will turn the church into Babylon if this will not be checked right away. So it says here, they are coveting their neighbors' wives, and the seventh commandment is broken. We are in danger of becoming a sister to fallen Babylon, of allowing our churches to become corrupted. Corrupted with what? Corrupted of this kind of sin, and filled with every foul spirit, a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And will we be clear unless we make decided movements to cure the existing evil? So meaning to say, the tendency to becoming Babylon is right in the midst of the Seventh-day Adventist. So the term, or the words, do not call the church Babylon, is what? Conditional. The words do not call the church Babylon was written in 1893, mga brethren, while this statement was written in 1886. So it is conditional. Okay? Because this time, 1886, the danger is almost seen in the midst of the Seventh-day Adventist Church because of the specific sin, adultery. Okay? It was being practiced by the ministers itself. So turning into Babylon, or a pure church turning into Babylon, is not impossible, brethren, even though you are a commandment keeper or professed commandment keeper or Sabbath keeper. Being a Sabbath keeper is not a guarantee that you will not become Babylon, because if you transgress God's law, that is the number one reason why the church will become Babylon. Okay? So we should avoid this kind of danger, brethren, and we should listen to what God says. The third one, or the last one, is 3SM 257. The house of God is desecrated, and the Sabbath violated by Sabbath believers' children. Okay? Why? It says here, they run about the house, play, talk, and manifest their evil tempers in the very meetings where the spirits have met together to glorify God and to worship Him in the beauty of holiness. The place that should be holy, where holy stillness should reign, and where there should be perfect order, neatness, and humility, is made to be a perfect Babylon, and a place where confusion, disorder, and untidiness reign. This is enough to shut out God from our assemblies and cause His wrath to be kindled, that He will not be pleased to go out in the armies with the armies of Israel to battle against our enemies. The same with what we read a while ago to volume 8 Testimonies for the Church, 250. The reason why the presence and God's glory have been departed in the midst of the Seventh-day Adventists is that because they became Babylon or harlot. They became worldly. So with this kind of problem, children who run about the house, play, talk, and manifest evil tempers, in the very meeting where God should be glorified, if these are being manifested, brethren, it will turn the church or our congregation into Babylon. Enough, it says here, that God will be shut out from our assemblies. So, turning into Babylon, brethren, is not impossible if, okay, if we will let these things to happen in our midst. So again, that's the spirit of Babylon or harlot or the world should be avoided, brethren, because it will turn us into the same spirit. I hope that this message in this evening in America, morning in the Philippines will serve us as a lesson, brethren, not to become worldly. For it means that we are turning into Babylon. We are becoming harlot. And that is not what God wants us to be. God wants us to be a pure church, a holy individual, obeying God's commandment, loving Him as our heavenly God. So God bless us all. And again, happy Sabbath to us all. God bless.